my friends, and welcome to the Metal Shop. Today, we're going to take a diversion from the usual building of guitars and so on, and we're going to talk about clones and my clone journey. What I wanted to do was now, just let me preface this by saying I could afford a real clone, even by today's prices, which the cheapest I could find is hovering just under $4,000. But to me, that is ridiculous to pay that kind of money when there are so many good and accurate clones out there that will do literally exactly the same thing with the exact same circuit. All right, I'm not going to get into a big debate about this or whatever. I think the original clones are amazing, and there may be, I don't want to say magic, but when you hand build something with the very best components, it may sound just that tiny little bit better than something else that is a copy of it, or certainly something that is mass produced. All right, but I'll digress here. Just for information, we are on the Decibelix website. They have an excellent page history of the Klon. There's also the Guitar Gear Finder. It has an excellent history of the Klon. And I'm not going to get into that too much. I don't want to waste a lot of time. But guitar player, and most of you, if you're watching this video, you probably know all this, but a guitar player by the name of Bill Finnegan. He's from Boston, Somerville, Mass, to be specific, and right in my backyard. Wanted a better overdrive. And we've all, if you're a guitar player, you've suffered the same thing that he has, where when you're playing a tube amp, the thing sounds great when it's cranked. You hit 7 to 10 or 11, if your amp goes to 11, and it just sings, and harmonics flow out of the thing, and you get the Brown sound, the Eddie Van Halen Brown sound, or just a rich, full sound. But if you're playing in a smaller club, or playing in your bedroom, or a gig at wherever, and you have to turn the thing down, your amp loses a lot of those harmonic tones, the richness, the fullness, that chest oomph in the amp. So guitarists have combated that with overdrive pedals since the late 70s and earlier. I mean, Jimi Hendrix used a fuzz face similarly, but the Ibanez Tube Screamer was really the first, and Bill Finnegan didn't like the limitations of the Tube Screamer. He felt it compressed the signal too much. The Tube Screamers focused on the mid-range, and Tube Screamers also would reduce the bass range. So he set out to make his own pedal. He went to MIT with the help from another couple of engineers and about 4 years of research. He came up with his own original circuit, the Klon. Okay, so fantastic. Fantastic pedal. They were very expensive at the time. They came out in '94, and they were about $229. By the time he stopped producing them in 2008, they were $329. I wanted one of these pedals really badly. I used to have a 100-watt Marshall, and to push mine in overdrive, I ended up with the Proco Rat, one of the, I bought an 87 or 88, something like that. I wanted the Tube Screamer, couldn't even get that. So I settled for the Proco Rat, which, quite honestly, I used to compare that thing to a box full of bees. Didn't sound that great. Okay. So anyway, I really wanted one of these clones. I never got around to it. I actually switched to solid state. Oh, the horror! And got some really good tones for a few years before I switched back to tube amps. And anyway, which landed me here. I wanted to get my own copy. And this is about the research that I did to find the very best copy. And I'll tell you why. Some of the things, clones are getting old. But there's, besides being super expensive, the youngest one is 15 years old. The oldest one is 30 years old, and they have a lifespan. These things, right? And you can read about this here on the Decibelix website. Bill Finnegan never put these things into mass production. He manufactured these things, one at a time himself. But anyway, they're full of aging components, okay? And specifically, like electrolytic capacitors, they degrade over time. And the generally accepted lifespan of an electrolytic capacitor, which are buried here, is about 40 years. And if they've been subjected to heat, it's like a nuclear half-life, they're exponentially decreased. their life. So time will come when all Klons are going to require some sort of repairs and or replacement. And if you see here, you know this, Finnegan covered the front and the back of the circuit boards with this black goop. It's an epoxy resin. I've heard it called wax. I believe it's an epoxy resin, which essentially makes repairs extremely difficult, if not impossible. Okay. And I want to digress just even a little bit further here, and we'll go to the Klon KTR, and this is on Reverb. And okay, so my price range, I really only wanted to spend 150 bucks on a pedal. All right. And the KTRs, as you can see here, this is on Reverb, price high to low. The cheapest ones are about 650 bucks. And now they're commanding a higher price for the ones that use the original germanium diodes versus newer diodes. And a kind of a criticism here, Bill Finnegan put these on the KTRs, which are mass produced and have different, circuit boards. I think that their machine, they're built with a machine. They're soldered by machine and built with different components. And the case here is smaller, as we can see. But here, right on the case, he puts, instead of a logo or anything, kindly remember, the ridiculous hype that offends so many is not of my making. Okay. And what I'd like to say to that is bullshit. I would call 100% bullshit on the hype is not of your making, because right here, let's start right here. The black epoxy resin that you put all over your circuit to befuddle people who would try and copy your work. I get it. Maybe a patent would have been the way to go, but this right here, you were purposely building the hype. You didn't want anyone to copy your circuit, your own work, and that's commendable. I get that, but give me a break, okay? This here. And when they finally did, someone broke these down. They bought one when they weren't ridiculously expensive. Online community at freestompboxes.org. Yeah, it was back when there was a .org in the early 2000s. They bought one, and they sent the thing to a West Virginia engineer named Martin Chittum, and he removed all the goop. He traced the circuit, identified all the components, and he drew up electronic schematics so that they could be copied. And when they did this, Finnegan, again, adding to the hype, stated that several key components were wrong, that they got several key components wrong when they traced the circuit. Again, the ridiculous hype is not of my making. It's 100% of your making. The standard in music, the music industry, is to, you come up with the best product here. You build the best guitar, your BC Rich, your Jackson, your Bill Finnegan. You come up with a Klon. You make a bunch of these by hand, and then you sell out. You sell the design to be mass produced, and you cash in. Well, Bill Finnegan never did that. Again, that's great. Adds to the hype. Who else adds to the hype? Guys like Jeff Beck, Joe Perry, John Mayer, and Joe Bonamassa. They all love these things. Again, this adds to the hype. Now, if these things needed repairs back in the day, and Finnegan said almost none of them have ever come back for repairs or warranty work, what I believe he would do back in the days, he would replace the entire circuit board with a new one because of the goop. We're not going to be doing that anymore. I don't think he's going to be doing that anymore. Maybe he will not. They're all out of warranty by now. So anyway, they all have an expiration date, these awesome pedals. So just bear that in mind. Anyway, all right, let's get on with it. I set out on my journey to get the best Klone. And how did I do it? So honestly, I couldn't buy 10 pedals. I didn't want to do that. You're not supposed to return electronics. You buy them, you use them. So I did a ton of YouTube research, and I'll include all of the links to the Decibelix and the Guitar Gear Finder and the videos on YouTube that I use to do my research to find the best clone for my money. And I apologize right now if you've sat with me this far. There's not going to be any playing demonstration in this video. What we're going to do is, this is going to my search, how I found one, the one that I wanted, the best one for me, and I will be doing a shootout with a real Klon and a famous a semi-famous guitar player, I promise that video is going to come. The one that I bought, another one that I think is excellent, and a real Klon, and we will do a shootout, and it's going to be amazing. It may be a little while before that video comes out, so really appreciate you sticking by me here. All right, so I started on YouTube, and the best videos out there are by the Andertons. Music is Win, and there are several others, and I'll try and include as many links as I can. But watch the videos of the shootouts with headphones and use your ears to tell you which are the best one, okay? And that is how I did it. And I'm just going to cover just a handful of the best Klon clones out there. You make the determination yourself. Again, I only wanted to spend 100, 150 bucks, so some of them are ruled out because they're too expensive. KTR's 650 bucks. Klons themselves 4,000 and up, ridiculous and out of the question. So first we have the J Rocket Archer. Okay, excellent pedal. They're about 200 bucks. So right off the bat, really a little bit more than I wanted to spend. The gold Klone tone. No pedals holds more mystique than the legendary Klon Overdrive. With its unique overdriven tones and boosting capabilities, this pedal has captured the imagination of players from Jeff Beck to John Mayer. The Icon, this one right here, is an exact tribute to that legendary golden pedal, features germanium diodes, ooh, the great germanium diodes, and captures every nuance of the original unit. Unlike the Archer Icon, this one has slightly less gain and more warmth. He does do another one that has a little bit more gain, and I believe it's this one here. Germanium diodes, blah blah blah. Anyway, they're about 200 bucks, a little bit more than I wanted to spend. I did find it a good used one on Reverb for 180 bucks. I kind of wanted to go new. All right. So next we have, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this. These are no longer available. This is the Seriatone Centura. I'm so confused with the C's there. Is it Seriatone Centura? Is it Seriatone Centura? I'm not sure. These are only available used now. He used to sell kits, and now, and you can see all these different colors. These are the exact same case. These are supposed to be very excellent clones. There's a lot of them featured in the shootouts that I will link, but you click on order now, and we have a dead link. Thanks for your interest in our amps. So, okay, ruled out right off the bat, okay? Okay, we have the, and I pronounce this Ryra, but it's Rock Your Repaired Amp, R-Y-R-A. These are supposed to be excellent. We've got testaments here from Jacob Peterson, the guitarist for Steve Miller Band. Says Steve Miller has 5 of these things, and he loves the Ryra. Howard Lee says, I use mine every night. And again, what they're saying is the Rock Your Repaired amp clone is an exact part-for-part, meticulously crafted replica of the infamous apparent overdrive pedal. It is painstakingly crafted using the absolute best components with a deep devotion to perfection. The recreation of the three-hole constructed overdrive pedal now out of production is known for its big 3D open sound that cuts right through the mix. This is a pedal for players. It's in a smaller package, and this is the same size as the one that you can get from StewMac, the Ghost Drive, or the ones you get from Wish for $30. This is the same size pedal. All right, this is 190 bucks. This was an option. Again, I found some used ones cheaper on Reverb, but it's not what I wanted. And it didn't do great in the shootouts. It did okay in the shootouts. I went with the ones. There's a couple that sounded the absolute best in the shootouts. J Rocket Archer again did pretty good in the shootouts, middle of the road here. So same with the Centura. So next we have the Willwood Mjolnir. I can't pronounce the word. These are pretty cool. Again, I found a used one on Reverb. New, they're about $300. Sorry, $260. It says right there. It's right in my face. This one gets very, very high marks. Extremely high marks. There's some very respected guitar players and reviewers on YouTube that say that this is the one that is every bit as good as the Klon, but with a little more of that low-end thump that we really like. And most of these pedals are the creation of one guy. I can't think of the guy's name. He's Zach something. Let's see. We've gone back to the drawing board with the Wilwood Mjolnir to get even closer to Zach's personal Klon centaur. So where is that guy's name? Zach Broyles is his name, who's the mastermind behind Mythos Pedals. And this one, high marks, but it's $260. So I passed on that one. And let's see where we got. No, we did this one here. Where are we? Okay, the Wampler. And this is interesting, and I'm gonna go off on a tangent again here a little bit. The Wampler Tumnus does very well in the shootout videos, okay? And this is a copy, the same 3 knobs of the Klone, a very excellent copy. And these get criticized because they say, oh, they only have silicone diodes. I find that hard to believe. I'm not positive, but you can buy the Wish and build your own, and they have real germanium diodes. So if he used the silicone diodes, I'm sure it was for a reason. The Tumnus here, exact copy. And then this one was very, very interesting. $150, $200. So again, a little out of what I wanted to spend. But this one, the Tumnus Deluxe, fascinating because not only does it have the same 3 pedals, but it has an active EQ where it has mids and bass built in, and it has a boost here, a hot switch right there that gives you that little bit of boost here. So that one was that was my runner up. And with the Tumnus Deluxe, Brian has set a new standard thanks in large part to the design's articulate sounding buffer. All the clarity, punch, and detailed breakup of the original Tumnus are there. If you leave your bass and your mids set at 12 o'clock, you have the same K circuit, he calls it, as in the regular Tumnus here. So again, this one was very close. Again, I like that thump, that bass. That's what I wanted. So this one was right there. I don't like the new graphic. The original one had Tumnus on it. The little guy from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe from C.S. Lewis's Narnia books. I kind of thought that was cool as hell, and it had the lamppost, light in there. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go searching that out here. It'll take too long. But it's a funny little aside here is Brian Wampler was, asked by the C.S. Lewis Foundation to cease and desist producing or from using the actual Tumnus graphic. So he switched to this one. Excellent pedal. I like the Swiss Army knife of the Deluxe better than the original. Better than the original mini Tumnus. Oh, also this one, if we get a load here, the regular one, no battery. You can't. It's too small. You can't use a battery with it. The Tumnus Deluxe, you can use a battery. So, for price reasons, 9-volt reasons, I decided to skip those. I want to mention that's funny here. Brian Wampler wanted to build the Deluxe first. He wanted to do his own thing first. He didn't want to copy someone else's pedal, bit by bit, but he succumbed to the pressure of what people wanted, and he built the regular Tumnus first, the little tiny one, before he built his own take on it. Okay, and it reminds me of a story of, I don't know if any of you are into aviation. There was the Boeing B-29, the bomber used at the end of World War II and into the 50s. The Russians copied the B-29 exactly. They captured a couple of them. They got a hold of a couple of them. And the Russian engineers hated this. They're like, we can build a better plane than copying this thing. But Stalin, who was in charge at the time, wanted an exact duplicate. And the Russian engineers were like, we have better parts than this and that and those parts. So all of these guys, I'm talking about Zach Broyles and Brian Wampler and the guy who's in charge of the Rocky repaired amps, they like to do their own take on the Klon, excuse me, it's confusing. And just like Bill Finnegan wanted to do his own thing. So they're all that tiny little bit different, okay? Which brings me to the last one here is the Warm Audio Centavo. Now I've heard of Warm Audio. They make tons of very, very high-end studio equipment. microphones, microphone preamps, compressors. So I was like, this was very intriguing. I'm like, well, the company that makes these very high-end, very well-engineered components, and they manufacture some pedals too to use in the studio. If they're doing their own take, I'm interested. Okay. And this one here has what really one of the things that sold me on it, and they have a picture of it, is right here, the mod. And they call it kind of sneakily the Jeff Beck mod. And what that does is it gives you that thump, that bass. It returns the bass that is lost in the original Klon. And what people don't want to hear, because the Klon sounds so good, is, Bill Finnegan didn't like how the tube screamers reduced the bass range. Well, guess what? The Klons reduce your bass range just a little bit too. The Warm Audio Centavo and a lot of these other pedals, like the Tumnus Deluxe, they add it back in. This one with just a switch for the boost. The Tumnus Deluxe with its own EQ. So this one here was extremely, extremely interesting to me. And obviously they copied the case exactly, the same oxblood knobs. You can use, there's a battery in it. So this one was way, way up there. And this one sells for $179, but they blow them out. You can find them new on Reverb and on eBay for $159, $149. I think the lowest I found was even $139 there. So thank you for bearing with me here with this, and we're going to give a brief pause, and we're going to go up to the metal shop, and we are going to see what I ended up choosing for my Klon clone. All right, cool.
All right,
see you in a minute.
So we're up in the workshop here, and the big reveal. What did I end up with on my exhaustive search for the best Klon clone for my money? I should say, to preface this, I bought this from Sweetwater. We're doing the unboxing here with a very dull razor blade, apparently. We're blowing these things out for September, which was National Guitar Month, something along those lines. And I can see right now, as soon as we open it, we're going to be able to see it right away. So, without further ado, we got the Warm Audio Centavo is the pedal that I selected. And the reason for this, and I got 3 cables, nice MXR cables, patch cables deal. Ooh, and my candy. I'm going to be eating that bit of honey and that root beer barrel right away. Anyway, Sweetwater was blowing these out for $139. And my salesman, you get the personal salesman who contacts you, I told him what I was looking for, but I didn't want to. I said, you got a used one, or do you have an open box? And he's like, hey, we're going to be blowing these things out. Pay attention here. So anyway, Warm Audio, they make high-end studio equipment, microphones, microphone preamps, compressors, rack-mounted equipment, great stuff. And I know one of the criticisms of this is that they are produced offshore, but they were designed and built in the United States and engineered in the United States to be an exact copy of the Klon Centaur and Klon Centaur, and they've added the Jeff Beck mod switch in the back. And quite honestly, in the shootouts, whenever I heard that extra thump in the bass, I loved that, and that to me was always the original Klon or the Warm Audio Centavo. This one, in all the shootouts, to my ears, sounded the best. So this is what we picked up. Got all the goodies in here. We got stickers and so on. Our little book, a little manual. Let's move this so we can see. Okay, let's move that then. And our nice little packaging here. And this is in the same size case as the original Klon. Got the same oxblood knobs. And I know that they say in all of the identification videos that the original Klons never had white pointers. I've seen originals with white pointers. I don't know if guys swapped those out so they could see them better. This one is adjusted a little bit low. It catches a little bit. And Bill Finnegan said he designed these so you could catch these with your feet, your gain and your output knob with your feet. And there is the mod switch. And I believe that's off and that's on there. Got big black rubber feet here. Again, I know this was made H.O. in China, made in China. I don't think it says anywhere on there. They try and hide that from you, but that's the one we ended up with. And I said, I promise, there will be an audio shootout with the Warm Audio Centavo and an original Klon, and I couldn't resist. I also picked up the Wampler Tumnus Deluxe. And I found an original one on Reverb, an original Deluxe, perfect as new condition with the Tumnus graphic on it. Again, that C.S. Lewis Foundation asked Ryan Wampler and Wampler pedals. Again, I got all the little, this thing, it's a few years old, but it's as new. Still got the rubber feet in it, got the stickers, got the manual, got the little baggie here. This is as new, and I actually paid a little bit more for this pedal than for a brand new Tumnus Deluxe. But there he is. There's the little guy, the little character, which to me I think is cool. This one has the buffer switch in and out, just like the KTR. Almost always better, almost always worse. And Brian Finnegan swears that the buffer is almost better. And who am I to argue with him? He's an engineer who built one of the best sounding pedals of all time. So that will be our shootout. Will be my Warm Audio Centavo, that's my choice. That one is going on my pedal board. All the tones I heard, I love it, and provided that I actually hear those, that's going to be the one. I may put this one in reserve. I may actually buy another one that's not so nice, because this one is perfect in as new condition. But we will do a shootout between a real Klon, the Warm Audio Centavo, and the Tumnus Deluxe. I promise, my friends. Might be a little while. Anyway, if you sat through this exceedingly long video, I truly appreciate your support. Please hit a like if this helped you in any way. Just my process on how I chose the best clone for me. And I assume a lot of you are going to be doing the same thing. You're going to be watching YouTube videos and listening with your ears and picking it out that way. So please give me a like. Doesn't cost you a thing. It really helps me out. Hit me up in the comments. Still respond to all my comments. Just dispatched a troll on one of my most popular videos that I have 250,000 views on. Love getting down in the mud with the trolls and dismissing those losers. Share the video if you still share the video, and please subscribe to my channel. Tons of good content, guitar related, car related content on there. And if you subscribe, you'll see the video where we do the shootout between, in my opinion, the 3 best pedals. And quite honestly, the Mjolnir was the best clone that money can buy. But this one, just the look and that extra bass, what really sold it on me. I wanted something, a Swiss Army knife, better than the Klon itself. And I feel I've made the right decision here. Time will tell. All right, my friends, take care. Thank you so much for watching. Truly appreciate your support. All right. And if you've, just as a little bonus here, a quick little postscript, I popped the back off. I wanted to show this to you. There's not a lot of, some pictures out there, but I see right away, I see small pots, not the large CTS pots. I see they've included a battery, which that's pretty nice. There's no little piece of foam in there to keep the battery from moving around. So there's that. We have a different input or power jack that's a more modern one than what Bill Finnegan used. He used a regular 1/8 inch, like a headphone jack type of thing. And weirdly, I don't really like this wire going right across, but whatever it is, what it is. That's because the output jack is the one, if that's plugged in, the power stays on. You have to unplug the output in order for this to not be powered. Usually it's the input, not the output, but I can see that's how they chose to wire. Lots of hand wiring here. I can see the diodes they used, and right there, they're not the germanium diodes, I don't believe. Anyway, there's your little bonus there. The inside of the Warm Audio Centavo looks looking pretty good, though. I'm very impressed at what you get for the money. All right, cool.